In this video, I'm going to talk about how a packet gets from the source to the destination. So in this case, the packet will come from this PC here to this PC here, PCA to PCB. So we have a router and 2 switches and 4 hosts, as you can see here. So let's say we're going to do a ping from host A, or we're going to send a data from host A to host D. So we're going to have 3 components or 3 things. The data, the layer 3 header, and the layer 2 header. So in the layer 3 header, we're going to have the source IP, which is this IP here, the 11.1, and the source and the destination IP is 22.40. And of course the source in the layer 2 header, we're going to have a source and destination MAC addresses. So of course the source MAC address is this here, the host A MAC address. And in this case, since the destination IP belongs to another network, PCA or host A is going to send the traffic to its gateway or to the router 1 here. It's going to know that the destination belongs to another network or different network. So, but host A doesn't know router 1's MAC address yet. So what host A is going to do is it's going to create a ARP request for router 1's MAC address. So in that ARP request, it's gonna get to switch to port here, which is port 2. I mean switch 1 here on this port 2. And what switch 1 is gonna do is it's gonna update its MAC address table. It's gonna, as you can see here, this is the switch 1 MAC address or count table. So this MAC address lives on port 2. So let me just back up. So switch 1 is gonna do 2 things. It's gonna update, or it's gonna put an entry to its count table. As you can see here, this is the count table here. And since the ARP is a broadcast frame or broadcast packet, switch 1 is gonna flag that frame to all its ports except from this port where that frame came in on. So host B is just gonna discard the frame, but router 1, it's gonna know that the ARP request is for him, or is distinct to router 1, because in the layer 3 header, it's got its IP address, which is 11.1. So router 1 is going to process router 1 will do two things as well. It's going to update, or it's going to put an entry to its ARP table. So it's going to have this entry here. This is the IP address of host A and its MAC address. So it's just the mapping of the IP address and the MAC address. So router 1 is gonna reply to the ARP request, and it's just gonna be unicast. And switch 1, it's gonna update its count table, and it's gonna put here, it's gonna put this entry here, which basically means that this MAC address lives on switch on port 3 on switch 1. And the destination of the unicast will be, the MAC address destination of the unicast is this MAC address here. So switch 1 is going to know that or switch 1 already has an entry in its count table, and it's going to forward that destination MAC address to its port 2. And host A is going to receive the response, and it's going to have, and it's going to update its ARP table. So it's going to have this ARP table entry here. So basically this is the router IP address and its MAC address. So now host A has all the information that it needs to send the packet to the gateway, to its gateway. So host A is going to have the data, layer 3 header and layer 2. And of course that packet is going to go to switch 1 port 2, and switch 1 is just going to refresh that its count table, and the destination, of course, will be the destination MAC address will be this MAC address. So switch 1 already has this mapping here, which is it's port 3 and MAC address of router 1. So the switch 1 is going to use its port 3 to send the traffic to router 1. So router 1 is just going to remove the layer 2 header, because because the purpose of the layer 2 header is just to send the packet hop to hop, but the purpose of layer 3 header is to send the packet end to end. So in this case, PCA to PCD. So router 1 is gonna check its routing table or route table, or it's gonna refer it to the IP address destination IP address source, or destination IP address rather, and it's gonna know that it needs to forward that packet to this interface here. But router 1 doesn't know host D MAC address yet, so it's gonna create an ARP request for our host D MAC address. So basically router 1 is gonna have the data, the layer 3 header, and of course the layer 2 header. But in the layer 2 header, it's just gonna have its MAC address, source MAC address, and it doesn't have the MAC address, the destination MAC address yet. So that's why it's gonna create an ARP request for host D MAC address. So basically, the ARP request will go to switch to port here, port 1, and switch 2 is just gonna put an entry to its CAM table, as you can see here. So this will be the entry. So basically, router 1's MAC address and switch 1, port 1 and switch 2. So this mapping here, and of course it's an ARP. So switch 2 will flood the frame to all its port except to the port that the frame came in on. So host A is just gonna discard the frame, but host D, it will know that the ARP is for him because of the IP address. So host D is gonna process host D will basically do two things. It's gonna have an entry to its ARP table here, ARP table as you can see here. So basically this is the IP address of router 1's interface here, and its MAC address. So router host D is gonna respond, and it will be unicast. So switch to, it's gonna update its CAM table. So basically this MAC address DDD lives on port 2, and by the way, the the destination here, of course, will be the destination MAC address will be this MAC address. So that's why switch 2, it's gonna know that it's gonna forward that ARP response to this port here, port 1. So basically, host D created it will have layer 3 and layer 2 header, and in the layer 2 header, like I said earlier, it's gonna have this MAC address destination. So let's go back here again. So switch 2, it's gonna forward the ARP response to this port here, port 1, and router 1 will process the ARP response, and it will have all the information that it needs to forward the packet or the data to host D. So it will have the data, the layer 3 header and layer 2 header. So the packet will go to switch to port 1 on switch 2, and the destination MAC address will be this MAC address here, of course. So switch 2 already has an entry in its CAM table. So switch 2 will provide the packet or the frame to its port 2 here all the way to host D, and host D will receive the packet, and it's gonna strip or remove the layer 2 header and layer 3 header, and it's gonna process the data. So this is just what happens when the packet gets from host A to host D. So this is just one way. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about how a packet goes back to the source, which is in this case host A. So yeah, that's it for now. Thanks.